Welcome to We Digress with Joy and Jess. Join hosts and longtime friends Joy Simpson and Jess Perry as they tackle the stuff of life the only way they know how, with honesty, faith, and humor. This is We Digress with Joy and Jess. Hey everyone, welcome to We Digress with Joy and Jess. I'm Jess.
I'm Joy.
One day we will get there.
Well, the episode we posted today, I did it right. That would have been episode 7, as you just kindly told me, because I don't remember numbers at this point these days.
Right.
But yeah, I came in one time on that one. I don't know what happened to my brain just now. I think I felt like I was going to sneeze. And then I was listening to the "You Are Recording" lady, because for those of you listening, there's a lady in our ear telling us we're recording. She's like a Siri type person.
Yes.
She's our cousin. If you've been on Zoom, you know what I'm talking about. So
sorry.
so all of that combined, that I was just like, oh, hi. Yep.
You're like,
I'm Joy.
Oh man. This is what happened because we record on Friday nights, as we've mentioned before, but yes. I think by that point, our brains are just
we are. I loved when we recorded during the afternoon on Fridays. That was when I wasn't working on Friday afternoons. And so
it's our brains were a little fresher.
Right. So until God says otherwise, I'm still working until 6 p.m.
Right.
And so, but Jessica has Fridays off. Whereas at one point we both had Fridays off. Then she was working, and then we were recording in the evening, and then she had Friday off again. And then we were like, oh, afternoons. And then my California's like, kids are going back to school. And I'm like, shoot. And now
you're like, shoot, parents everywhere. Thank God.
It's funny because I talked to 2 different parents today that said 2 different things. One was like, oh yeah, I'm so glad the schools are open, blah, blah, blah. And then the other one was, I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed not bringing her and picking her up and her complaining. She's like, the only thing is, because I was going to keep her online again. She was like, but Mom, I miss my friends, because she's a 5th grader now. It's her last year at elementary school. So yeah, but she was like, between the actual COVID aspect, and then I've just had a year and a half of not a commute really. Because I think she's still working from home, but the daughter goes to school. So she's like, I got to go, then come back, then go again.
Right.
Then I had other parents who were like, hooray, they're out of my house.
Got to get out of my house. Yeah, I know. It's
hey, I work with them. I understand them wanting them out of their house.
So a couple of my students, so all of my students are back in school, but then the brother and sister that I teach, they go to actually different schools. They don't go to the same school. And so they're only a couple grades apart, but then I think the sister is in a different type of school. I think she's in one of the I'm not sure. It's a lot. But I have noticed such a marked change in them, but they came home with their first colds of the school year. And they're like, we had a COVID test.
We've had a lot of those. Yeah. It's cold season.
It's right. And you forget that there's regular sickness. But I've been wearing a mask in their lessons anyways, just because we're extra cautious because of John and, want to be mindful of it. And they're totally cool because Mom understands she's got some stuff going on too. So she's like, the kids are wearing masks. I'm wearing a mask. She's got hand sanitizer on the piano, which I was like, pro status. Thank you very much. But yeah, they were just gross little petri dish humans.
They are.
I mean, they're adorable, gross petri dish.
What humans, I do respect though, is lately the colds, even my students with colds, most of them, their parents have kept them home until at least the runny nose part is done.
Right.
So I've been appreciative. We've had some who keep sending their kids to school, but they do the same. Hey, they've been tested. They're negative. Right. It's just a cold. So.
Right. Yeah. Normal sickness. We don't know how to do that anymore.
No. And now I'm like, I don't need normal sickness. I don't need nothing.
Right.
So I have to try and stay as far away from the kids as I can. It's just very hard to do so, especially when I'm teaching theater to kindergarten and 1st graders who have never really done any of this before. So they're like, where'd they go? No, the line is right. Get in the 1st row. That's 9 rows. I need 2. I only need 2 rows. So now I'm going to have to go back to putting the blue tape on the floor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because the concept of rows, we had a big struggle all across the board, kindergarten through fifth grade this week. Something about rows and lines. So I do a joke with the kids. I'm like, if they're not in line or if I say get in a circle and the circle looks like King Kong ran through it, I'll usually say, oh, that's not a circle. That looks like scrambled eggs, or that's not a circle. And they think it's hilarious. But eventually they're like, Miss Joy, you're silly. This is a circle. Good job. You got in a circle. Like
amazing. Thank you for doing the thing I asked you to do
10 minutes ago.
Right? There can be miracles.
Seriously, like between pull your mask up and repeating myself on instructions, I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
Luckily, then unluckily, I had 2 days off this week. Unluckily, one was for a procedure. 2 was for Yom Kippur, which to my Jewish brothers and sisters, I appreciate you.
Right.
But yeah, because we get Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah off. Yeah. Except it was on a weekend this year, so it didn't, but we always get those Fridays off. And I have wonderful Jewish parents who I've had forever. I've had every level of their child at this point. Their youngest is the last one, the only girl, and she's in 3rd grade now. Every year they do my Hanukkah segment for the holiday show, because I want to make sure that everybody feels included, because I think year before last we did holidays around the world. So I let my Hispanic kids talk about what they do in their homes for the holidays and different things like that. So my Hoggarts, or what they called, they're the best family. My last little one is leaving, but there's a new little kindergarten Jewish girl, and she said, Miss Joy, for the show, can Miriam and I do something together? And I'm like, absolutely. I'll talk to your moms and see. So a few years ago, her mom, because I was like, what is the difference between Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah? And so now I can't. So Day of Atonement, which is Yom Kippur, she said, that's the depressing one. That's the one. This is literally how she explained it. She said, that's the depressing one. That's the one where we go and we fast all day and we sit in the church, in the synagogue and temple, and we have our heads down for pretty much all day. And then afterwards we eat. She's like, Rosh Hashanah it's Happy New Year. So we celebrate, we eat, we have all the foods, we do all the fun things. We celebrate family, we celebrate life, we celebrate the new year and what God has in store for us. So that's how I remember the holidays now, the happy and the sad one. The happy one's first and the sad one is second. She said the kids, I guess in the more modern temples, they have an area that the kids, they can eat, but they do some other form of atonement with the children, and like a children's church type situation for Jewish people.
That's cool.
So, it's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. I am fascinated by how Jewish traditions have changed. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as someone, we read through the Old and the New Testaments, right? We have the New Testament. Right. Obviously, that's not something that our Jewish friends have. And they have a lot of stuff that we don't have in our Old Testament, which would be kind of the closest equivalent to what they use. And so it's interesting for us because so much of our New Testament is contextualizing the Old Testament.
Right.
And yet the Old Testament, or the Jewish scriptures, stand on their own and are so unique. And obviously there's a lot of the things that are prescribed in the Jewish, scriptures that are not able to be done anymore, because there isn't a temple, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just very interesting to me to kind of see how that has
grown and changed and evolved over the years. Yeah.
I'll never forget going, you did that thing, with History of American Religion. Where you had to go to, a service for a different faith or denomination or whatever. And my friend Yoda and I went to a synagogue on a Saturday for service. And we walked in and they looked at us like they knew we were not part of the family. And I was like, and Yona is Jewish by heritage. She's Christian,
right.
She's Jewish.
Right.
And I, of course, being Arabic. So I'm like, oh, great. This is going to be problematic. Like a Jew and an Arab walk into a synagogue where they don't attend. And it's like, we just need to sit through your service and take a bulletin back for class.
We just have to write a paper.
We just want to write a paper. But, it was beautiful and it was fascinating. Yeah.
And it's just something about Jewish culture that it
was amazing and incredible.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, my dad's business partner got married and had a very traditional Jewish ceremony. And there was they even did like a special Shabbat service kind of blessing for them. And it was amazing. So we went, and it was the first thing, my dad's got a yarmulke on and we're, covered and all kind of stuff. And we sit in it was in Vegas. So the rabbi was also his day job was as musical director for the Stardust. This is back when the Stardust was still around.
Okay.
So he's doing all the prayers and stuff. And he has a gorgeous voice, like gorgeous. And I was just like, this is amazing. I'm 14. Like he sings so beautifully. Like I could listen all day.
All day long.
Right. And he was, and I don't recall what the passage was, but he was talking, my dad always remembers when he tells the story, but I can never remember what it is. But basically he was talking about, we don't know why this happens. And we don't know why this was done, why God said to do X and Y and Z this way. But we do this because of X and Y and Z. And my mom and dad and I are sitting in the back having a New Testament context for this Old Testament thing. And we're all three of us sitting in the back going, oh, we know, pick me, we know why.
You're like,
we're not gonna say anything, we're gonna be respectful and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was amazing. It was, and I have to say, that was like, because of that rabbi with his like mad skills, that Shabbat service was like bomb, dude.
When I was in the 9th grade, I still lived in Arizona with my dad, and one of my best friends was Jody. I think Jody was my first sassy white friend because I was dating somebody in 9th grade that was extremely large and football player. And he did something not so great to me. And Jody, in her 5 feet, maybe 109 pounds wet, got in front of him on top of a table in our civics class and said, if I see you even look at her, I will cut you. Like,
I like Jody.
I was like, Jody, I was like, okay. So we became best friends. Come find out she's Jewish. And her mom invited me over for a Shabbat dinner and for temple the next day. So my dad was like, yeah, you can go as long as I can pick you up Saturday night for church on Sunday. Like the rule was you could go over Jody's, but you still got to go to church, which is fine. Yeah. Whatever. So the first time I go, on Friday, we have this Shabbat dinner. It's the candles. The mom has the thing on and she's doing the prayers. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, right?
Right.
So we have dinner, and then we also start making all the dishes that we were going to eat after temple, like after dinner. And I was like, so what are we doing this for? So her mom explained, when they say from sun up to sundown, we do nothing. We don't drive. That's why most Jewish homes, our neighborhoods have synagogues, temples where you can walk to within walking distance. And I was like, oh, okay. She also told me like even heating things up in a microwave is considered work. So we only made things that we could eat cold or cool or whatever. So I was like, that's different. Okay. And I'm not a big salady person, lots of things. But I love me a good potato latke, by the way. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
So we get up early, we walk to temple. Theirs was like the end of their block. We went, and again, like I had the cantor dude with the whole, like he was so amazing, right? And then one thing I really loved after when we got home, we ate, we talked about the service and what we learned and what, they explained to me some things that were said, not in English. And it was family time. until like nobody, it was board games, it was talking, and I remember her mom right in front of the kitchen. I had never seen this before as a kid. The menu for the week, what she was planning to make. And she was like, Joy, you want to help me write on that? It was like a blackboard thing. It was tall. And I did that. So like every other Friday, I loved going to Jody's house so that I could be a part. Right. And her big sister was amazing. Her dad was cool. Had the whole curly hair situation. Like it was for real. And I remember her sister telling me our hair matched because her hair was super curly. Like my hair was curly. She said mine is probably actually what people would call nappier than yours, because she's like, you know, Jewish people, there's a misconception. She's like, we have very curly, kinky hair. And that was one of those other things that I just learned. So I kept in touch with her when I moved back, and then we lost touch over the years, but I loved her family. I appreciate them for introducing me to Jewish culture. I almost became a Messianic Jew at one point because I love the reverence of God that they have.
Yes.
And the family love and the tradition, even though it's weird to say that as a Christian because I'm not into traditional, like complete traditional, but I like the passing down of tradition and understanding. You don't meet a Jewish person that is practicing in their faith as well as their nationality that doesn't know everything about their family's history, what type of Jewish, Hasidic, and all of these other things. So I love it. And then going to college in history of American religion, I did my big paper on the Jewish faith. And I remember our professor was like, you like immersed yourself into, and I told some of those stories from high school from ninth grade with Jody and her family. So
it's fascinating, and it's one of those things where I have so much respect for the Jewish culture and stuff like that, because I see it as it's a part of our traditions, you know, as Christians, and I see them as so integral to my faith story and so dearly loved. And so I just, I think it's really cool. But
if you've never had an opportunity out there to hear someone who's a Messianic Jew and talk about their story and how they became
very cool
Christian and stay within their nationality and culture of Judaism, it's very amazing.
There's a really cool organization called One for Israel that I follow on social media. And I love watching their videos because
I've been to a couple of their events.
Yeah, it's just extraordinary, and talking about how God is moving, and they're focused a lot in Israel, actually. And just some of the stories are remarkable and really, really cool.
Yeah. They came to our church a few years ago, and they did an event at the Saban Theater, like Beverly Hills area. And they did this whole big like night, and they had people from the organization, but they also had rabbis. They had other pastors who have partnered with them, not just in California, but all over the world, and did a whole thing. It was really cool.
That's awesome. It's really cool.
Very cool.
I love it. So much fun. That's not what we're talking about. We literally have started this with a whole full digression, diving into our somewhat limited understanding of the Jewish faith, but deep appreciation for it.
Because I don't know everything. I just know what I've experienced and what I've read. So I think you're awesome.
But before we wrap that up entirely, I believe it's called charoset, which is the apple chutney thing that happens at Passover.
Yeah. I think that's how you say it.
Can we just pause and appreciate what an amazing concoction that is and how remarkable it is? And the part in Passover where you mix the horseradish into it, like it shouldn't be good, but it's low-key real good.
I've not tried that.
Oh, yeah. A+.
Yeah, so now we what was that one, and potato latkes.
Oh,
you know, it's so blasphemous. I went to a restaurant and they had bacon potato latkes. And I was just like, I mean, it was good, but it was blasphemy.
So for John's birthday, we went to Palm Desert, And there's a Jewish deli out there named Sherman's. There's a couple locations, and John and I are smitten with Sherman's.
You talked about like you guys had gone there a couple times on the trip, right?
So we went there twice on our trip, and then we were telling my family's, like our family friends about this, and they live like half an hour from Palm Desert. And so they wanted to go for his birthday, the dad's birthday. And so my mom and dad drove out and we're going to go with them. And they're like, could you guys want to come? So like 2 weeks later, we drove all the way out to Palm Desert just to get to Sherman's and then come back. But let me tell you, it was worth it.
No shame, by the way, because I've done some things.
If you like corned beef, like it is, they have the best. It's so tender, so good. And let me tell you, I have not had better lox and a bagel than I had there. It was divine. It was so good. So shout out to Sherman's in Palm Springs, Palm Desert.
Yes.
Hashtag not sponsored, but if you want to send me a mess ton of pastrami, I would not be sad.
She will take it. And now I've been wanting to tell you about this, and then we're going to get into our subject. I promise you. A few weeks back, I went to, so you all know Jessica has gotten me into TikTok, and she probably regrets it because now I send her way more videos than she sends me. But
this is true.
It is true. But there was this, they have like the hidden gems of LA and all this other stuff, right? So a couple Sundays ago, I think it was one of the Sundays, I went to Palmdale for church, so maybe a few weeks ago. There was this cookie place I saw that was called Zooey's, and it's in Culver City.
Okay.
And I'm like, we usually pass through there coming home from Palmdale, whatever. So my mom and I, we got off the freeway. We were like, let's go off the freeway. When we were in Santa Monica, we went to the counter in Santa Monica, which was actually the first one in LA area. But anyway, so we went to the counter in Santa Monica, and we were sitting there like, want dessert? Don't want anything from here. I was like, oh, let's try that Zooey's place I saw on TikTok. My mom's like, where is it? So it was like maybe 10 minutes from where we were. So we go. This place is in a gas station.
Oh, only the best.
It is in a United Oil gas station on like Fairfax and something in Los Angeles. Like it's Culver City adjacent, I guess, because it wasn't really in Culver City, like it was across the street. Anyway,
LA's weird.
It's called Zooey's. It really is. LA is, our geography is dumb.
There's a lot going on. So much going on.
You go through Inglewood, you can get if you start on Hawthorne and Inglewood, you can go to like 8 cities in like 10 minutes. No lie. You Lawndale, Lenox, which is like 3 blocks. I'm like, just say you're in Inglewood. Like,
it feels like a lot.
Anyway,
all right, but Zooey's.
So Zooeyes. We go, and I'm like, oh, it smells good. It's maybe like 4:30 in the afternoon. He's like, this is what we have left. Mind you, it was decent, but it wasn't like a massive amount of cookies left. Like people have been like coming out there. So we get a few. I got a s'mores cookie. My mom got a carrot cake cookie. I got my grandmother like a 7-layer bar. And then we got a blondie with butterscotch in it to share to see how we'll like it. Oh, and I got a burnt brown sugar chocolate chip cookie. No, burnt butter. Brown butter chocolate chip sea salt cookie. Yeah. So we get home. I tried the brown butter cookie first, and I'm like, oh my God, are you serious?
I love brown butter.
It's so good. But let me tell you about this blondie. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
I like brownies, but sometimes if you have a good blondie, it can take me there. You know what I'm saying? This thing, it was so rich and buttery, but salty and sweet with the butterscotch chips in it. It was amazing. So shout out to Zooey's. Tell the dude, hey, heard about you on TikTok. Oh my God, we're on TikTok. I'm like, yeah. So I showed him the video on TikTok because I saved it in my thing. So I would know where to find this place. And I always get these hidden gems LA. Like there's so many restaurants and stuff now that I want to try that I'm like, I've sent Jen 1,000 of them. Good 1,000. So both Jens, and one of them doesn't even have TikTok. So I showed him the video and he's like, oh my God, I have to tell my boss, like, she's gonna flip. Like, we're on TikTok. I'm like, yeah, you're on some Hidden Gems LA TikTok. He was like, what? Like, he freaks out. There's a guy behind me. He's like, yeah, my wife saw you on TikTok. That's why me and my daughter are here. So it's this little girl and she's looking like big eyed at all these cookies, and they have cookies and bars, and they even have gluten-free and vegan options.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, and then my mom, we got a lemon cake cookie. Everything I tried was good, including the carrot cake cookie, and I despise carrot cake. Do you hear me? I despise it.
She does.
I don't like it. She can tell you, I can't stand it. But it was good. So shout out to Zooey's, Culver City. I'll try and get the link to their website in the description because you can also order and have them shipped.
Tell me that. Problematic. Oh man. This Sherman's Place had a full display case of like pastries that arugula, and they had like so stack cakes and like all kinds of stuff. It was game.
I saw a guy turn arugula into an ice cream flavor.
I'm here for it.
He's like half Jewish. He has an ice cream shop. Food Network randomly had a show called Clash of the Cones, and it was about ice cream makers, and they were battling it out to make a signature flavor for Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Oh.
So they got $250,000 plus their flavor in all of the Ben & Jerry stores, as well as cartons. So the girl who won, I need to find her flavor because I was very proud of her. She
brought the heat.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she was awesome. But this guy made a arugula ice cream, and I was like, how do you call it that? He used cream cheese to make it feel very
texture.
Okay, we're wrapping up food now, I promise, guys.
One more. Have you had the chocolate babka from Trader Joe's?
No, I haven't.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
I have had the green onion scallion pancake.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't like scallions, so
I know
that's anathema to me. But the chocolate babka, we can both agree on. Let me just tell you, game changer.
I'm gonna have to go get it this weekend. I just told my mom I needed to put more snacks in my classroom because I was nauseous at work, and I was like, I don't have no snacks.
Right. I actually had to go. So we went to Savannah last weekend to work on some details of things, and this kind of maybe ties into more of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And
getting to that now.
But we have to park at work. We have to park in this parking structure now, as opposed to parking in like the regular lot. So there's an apartment building right next door to the college. They took over the terraces building, and now it's like a whole huge apartment complex. And we lease space for faculty and staff to park in the 6th and 7th floors of this apartment parking structure. Well, but
so it's like where the OGs and stuff is.
Yeah, so we have to park over there, and it's a whole ordeal. Let's not even discuss the state of the elevator on Monday mornings, because the college kids, Cal State kids, got some parties going on. But it takes us a solid 10 minutes to get to your car now from our parking. Really? So it's like by the time you get to your car and then get down in, you've wasted half of your lunch break just getting to your car. So I try to like bring my lunch now. Whereas I tried to before, but now it's like it's kind of mandatory because I don't really necessarily want to eat in the cafe every day. And so
because there is that option,
right? So Wednesday morning I had to like make I'd like get ready to go to work early so I could stop off at Smart and Final and pick up something to take for lunch that day for the next couple days, because I was like, I'm not going to have anything to eat if I don't, because I don't want to go to the caf, because I don't necessarily. But while I was there, they have like the Smart and Final brand Kind bars, but you can get like a big box of them for like $20, and it's like the good Kind bars, like the chocolate nut Kind bars. And so I'm like, oh, you're coming with me, and like it was delightful. I've had those a couple times this week, but it's good. But yeah, it was
a good healthy snack, because Kind bars aren't like eating like a ho-ho.
I feel like they're healthy, like Nutella is healthy. Like they want you to think it's healthy, but it's really not.
That's funny because Nutella is not healthy. I don't hear how anybody slices that.
When Nutella first came to the United States,
you're right.
They promoted it as like a health food. And I'm in my brain, I don't know what the difference is. I'm like, what's this in Vegemite or whatever the crap they have over there, right? And
I always
first off, there's a lot different, but
it is a lot different.
But that's what in my brain, I was like, oh, it's health. It's like some kind of like healthy breakfast thing. And then I ate it and I was like, this can't be health. It's too good to be.
But they did used to promote Nutella as a healthy product.
They actually lost a lawsuit. They had to pay money because people sued them because they thought it was healthy. Yeah.
False advertising.
Yeah. I'm blaming Nutella for that I've gained weight.
I'm blaming Nutella because I gained 100 pounds and it was chocolate
just had toast and Nutella. But oh man, Nutella is so good. I
had toast and Nutella. That's double. You got extra carbs.
I'd like some carbs for my carbs, please. But you put a smear a layer of carbs
technically,
on my carbs.
I guess that's what butter and toast is, because carbs on carbs. But
butter's got protein in it though.
That is true.
Jam, on the other hand, you put some jam on it. Jam on it.
The new single by Jessica Perry. This is what happens when we record at night.
Speaking of carbs, I have my horchata. Like, if you hear it, you hear my ice.
As I have my ginger ale. Mm-hmm. It's like my water at this point with my stomach issues. But funny story from the procedure. They weigh you, before. Mm-hmm. And I looked down and it said 137, but it was in kilograms. And I told the nurse, don't change it.
Just let me have this.
Just let me have this moment. He laughed and was like, you're not the only one.
Right?
I converted it later to see.
You shouldn't have.
I could lose some weight, but
you're like, I should have never converted.
I should have never converted because 137 anything.
That's like my left pinky toe right there. Like,
when I saw that, I was like, oh, kilograms. Dun, dun, dun. Like the fact that he was like, I won't change it. It's okay.
I know.
He's like, you're not the only one. And it was like 7:30 in the morning. I wasn't the only one that day. Already.
I mean,
meaning there was a lot of women getting procedures.
It's good times right there.
Though I will say the service at the hospital was amazing. And it's I guess it kind of goes into it too. The enemy, just as we've talked about, God can say things to you. The devil has ways to come to your mind as well. And I don't know what it was. It was a minor-ish type of a procedure. But I was really nervous this time and very, very scared. It hit me later why every time I've gone even in for a minor or something, they usually tell me after like something major has been found and I was gonna have to stay or something. Right. So I think my mind was there and I was just like anxious and a lot of different things. And it was funny because it was also the hospital I was born in, and I haven't been there pretty much since I was born. And I almost died there when I was born. And so as I was laying there watching Grey's Anatomy, which is not a good idea to watch.
That's like watching an airplane crash movie on an airplane.
Don't watch Grey's Anatomy before going into a surgical procedure.
No.
Because it messes with you.
Let's waste time.
I was in episode 2. I was in episode 2 going, Joy, why are you watching this? And then it was making me more paranoid because they weren't taking me. My procedure, I checked in at 7. I was supposed to be in and out by 8:30. I don't think I went in until 11 something.
Oh gosh.
And then the procedure itself, they said was 35 minutes. And then the last thing I remember was holding the nurse's hand and her saying, it's going to burn a little when they're giving me the anesthesia and the IV. And so she held my hand. And then the next thing I remember is, Miss Simpson, you there? You okay? You're in recovery. Let me sleep because I'm tired. But rewinding really quick. The enemy was saying, you almost died here once. You're going to die here again.
Yeah.
He was kind of like, and it has been a minute since I've had or allowed myself to let those thoughts from the enemy creep into my brain. Though I was praying and you guys were praying, one of the craziest things gave me comfort going into being rolled in. It was at a 7-day Adventist hospital. So there's scriptures and quotes and things like that around. But there was a picture on the wall of Jesus laying hands on the surgeons while there was a person on the table. And that gave me so much peace being rolled into that room, because before that, I was praying. I was like, I'm confident in you. I am blah, blah, blah. Jessica was praying. My mama was praying. Anybody that knew where I was, they were praying. But seeing that led into that. And I've been up and down physically all week, from between that and my regular stuff. And I've been not able to really do as much beauty vlog stuff in the last few weeks since I've been back at school, because I really haven't gotten that balance down and all this stuff. And then it's Friday and I'm watching, because I tell you guys all the time, I watch our show or I'll listen to it for various reasons. I might tell you, I might not. But one thing I've realized is when I watch our episodes over, they always bless me. And that may sound narcissistic in a way, but between our words collectively, it brings me back to, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what God created you for. These things that I declare over my life all the time. So today, we started out and Jessica was like, wait, don't say it. Let me start recording. I was watching and listening on my way to work. And God just knows what you need when you need it. Because I hadn't told Jessica, I don't think anyone, what lies the devil was trying to tell me on Monday. Then whenever I have a breathing issue because of my asthma, I freak out. So then I've been having issues with my asthma this week. I was in the hospital on Monday. I had a similar situation a few years ago where I went in the hospital for something minor, ended up with like pneumonia that almost killed me 2-3 weeks later. And it was because I was under anesthesia, had bronchitis, and didn't know. So I started having breathing issues this week. And I'm like, okay, all right. Okay. Oh, okay. So, but you're getting in the water therapy today. So you're just going to have to make sure you wear a jacket, keep everything long on, because you're going to shower at the therapy place and go straight to work. And so my mind is doing all these things this week. I have not had the mental capacity to even, I have stuff written out for beauty vlog videos. I just haven't done it because I think that I am acknowledging I'm a little burnt and knowing in the next few months, at least 2 major things have to happen. And one of which is more important because God said by the end of this year. And I'm like, okay, God, we're working on that. But everything's going crazy. And I turned on our video, and that was the video where our podcast, where we were talking about trying to trust God with our big dreams and him trusting us, knowing that we're in the place of waiting and all these things. And though there's not like huge news to tell you yet, I can look at that and I can look back and say, one, the enemy is trying to play games with you because these things are happening. These moves are being made, whether you see the moves or not. These different things are coming together. And it gave me a breath of fresh air. I even went to work a little lighter today. And God was like, I got you. I didn't even have to I did more administration today than I did teaching. And I was okay with that today. Like, I felt like I needed it. the kids didn't need Miss Joy today, like their parents did. You know what I'm saying? It's the little things that God uses that are big things when it seems little. Like me looking at something we said weeks ago opened my eyes to see where the enemy was really trying to track, where I was letting some things slip that wasn't just on my exhaustion, but that these thoughts are making me more exhausted. So then I have to go back to, and I said this a couple times today, today's video reminded me of who I am. And though the video, the podcast, if you haven't heard it, it's episode 7, there was lots of tears, there was lots of strain, there was lots of uncertainty, and all of those things have not been solidified at all. But I had every time, and God showed me, it wasn't even just this episode, but every time I listen to us, every time I watch us, it reminds me of who I am. And those reminders help me remind others of who they are, because that's who I'm also called to be. And so that's what we're kind of talking about today. It's the things that we were causing us exhaustion physically, mentally, and spiritually 3 weeks ago. Though every burden hasn't been lifted, everything hasn't been put into complete place, but we've learned in the meantime to see he's making waves, he's making moves and putting the pieces together. If you just keep walking and stop trying to figure out how the moves are being made.
Right? Yeah. You know, it's funny because I have gotten our recording schedule all mixed up in my recording, and nothing has gone out in order. If you've been listening,
but it's been perfect.
Nothing has gone out in the order we recorded it. Yeah, and I've been trying to get back to it, but I keep messing it up, and for whatever reason. And so I was pretty sure this was the one for today, because I had actually labeled this one when we recorded it correctly. Shocker. And so I was like, okay, but this episode was supposed to have been 2 episodes ago, 2 weeks ago. And
God does things, right? And we just don't even understand.
Yeah. And so I go, okay, Lord, I'm going to trust that you're going to take my inability to label something properly and like move it through for your glory and for how you want it to be. And it's been an interesting week over here too. Like, we've not talked about it terribly much on the podcast, but I think that by the time this episode airs, it will be okay to talk about. If not, this will get edited out and you'll never know it existed. But we are planning a big move to Savannah, Georgia. And this has been in the works for a while. But it was always like, we always thought it was going to be next year. We've got money on a house that's not supposed to be built till next year. And so, or finished building till next year. And so we just had we knew and had been wanting to get out there early, but we knew that that wasn't probably going to happen. And then just some stuff has picked up in the last couple of days. John had a job interview out there with a law firm, and that's pretty promising. So we actually went out over the weekend to Savannah to kind of check things out and get the lay of the land a little bit more. It was the first time that we'd ever actually been to Savannah by ourselves. We'd never had we didn't have either of our parents with us. So it was nice because we just kind of controlled our schedule. We explored where we wanted to go. We tried different places and all kinds of new stuff, and walked through our house and prayed over our property again. They haven't broken ground yet, so we were able to go stand on our property and pray over it again. We prayed over it a couple times, but it was, we took a red eye out there. So we were up for 33 hours straight. Bless your heart. And, and then coming back on Tuesday night and going right into work on Wednesday morning. And Wednesday night at church was pursuit night. And they haven't been able to have one of these for 17 months, I think that they said. And this is just basically a worship, prayer, healing service night thing. And so we went, my best friend Ashley came with us, and it was really great to be there, and it was packed. I mean, they had this, like, we meet in an old movie theater, and it was packed. Like, the theater was the largest of the theaters in the building, and it was wall to wall, and everybody singing and everybody praying, and John and I went forward and got prayer, for our fertility issue, just because I felt like this is a place that
was the atmosphere to do it.
It was, and this is a church that has seen those miracles happen. In fact, the baby they prayed for, because they could not have children, was sitting in front of me Wednesday night, like the row in front of me. And, I was close enough to see her little dimples. She was adorable. But, so we sat and prayed, and it's just, and then to hear the podcast this week, and as I was editing it, going, okay, Lord,
like, what was, like, your mislabeling was
right,
what obviously God needed.
so if you're listening to this, we're referencing episode 207, which is the one that says waiting on God-sized dreams and other stuff. And one of the things that's kind of like the overarching theme of that episode is just this exhaustion in waiting for the thing that we feel God is leading us to, but waiting for it to come to pass and not being able to step fully into it because it's not ready yet. And it's kind of that juxtaposition of living in the space between the promise we know is going to be fulfilled, and God is already going to do it, and yet not yet. Like, that in between tension is the hard part, and it's exhausting. And we've both been so exhausted because we want to be there. We want to do the thing that not only sets our hearts on fire, but also like honors the Lord. And it's the thing that we feel like we are made to do, but we still had to, put a roof over our head. We still have to do all these other things. And so we, I think it's just fascinating because we're still pretty much in the same spot, all of us, with all the things. Like, nothing major has happened. There's no definitive answers.
It's just trusting,
right? It's just further down the line with that. And even in a span of just 3 or 4 weeks from the time that we recorded that till today, like, there is still just this sense of God has not let loose the floodgate. He's maybe poked or like kind of gently moved the gate forward a little bit.
Right.
But for us, I think the determination, we're talking on the flight home, and it's just, okay, we just need to make the move and step out in faith and trust that when we get there, God will open up the right doors. And that is absolutely terrifying.
For sure. Because right now in my brain, I'm like, okay, so what I'm also hearing is we're just going to plan out everything we need to plan out, and whether you're settled, whether you're whatever, because and here's why. This is what I'm feeling, at least what I think I feel. If you have enough trust to God to do the things, right? You have the trust and you have the open eye right now to see that you can keep moving while you don't know how he's moving. Okay. So I'm taking that same concept, listening. I'm like, well, if we're going to be in faith, let's just do it. I know we were waiting to plan some things because we wanted to know where we both would be by the time, but let's plan it. Right. Let's plan it. If dates need to move, they need to move.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Because it's one of the things God reminded me was, like, I was thinking about the journals, and I'm like, I don't know if they've sold anymore or whatever, but I also haven't talked about it on social media and been consistent with advertising since the first couple of weeks. So that's my part that I need to do so that the journal can get out there. Same is going to have to happen with the book when it's done. But also goes back to me in the videos. Mentally, I didn't feel like I could work on videos the last couple of weeks. I never leave my lights out after we record. I've had my lights out and up since our last recording. And I was like, oh, I'll do a video tomorrow. Oh, I don't feel it today. Oh, I don't feel like combing my hair. I don't know. I don't feel like being cheery. I don't feel like, and right. God was like, though there was some reason to that, and I did need to rest on some of those days. Some of it was just me looking at what's happened up to this point and forgetting that I also need to not operate only in the present, but keep believing for what's coming. So with that, I have to get off my behind. I believe in what we do. I believe in what I do. I believe in what you do. And I just believe that today was like, God just kind of like, wake up, pay attention. What's happening? Where are we? Because I realized it's been like 2 weeks since I've posted a video, and I'm trying social media, y'all, it's work, like creating content, even for us to just announce what we're going to talk about on the coming Friday. It's like we have to make sure it's on all the platforms that we have thus far. Jessica does all the brand. I get to do the easy stuff and post things on like Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like that's easy. But even then, I'm like trying to make sure the caption sounds witty and clever enough to be like, ooh, that's good. I want to tune into that. So it's work. And it can be overwhelming. And I think I got to that part of it because God told me 2 weeks ago to post on Beautiful Live that I was going to know women of influence until beginning of the year of next year, so that we could focus on the things that we have coming up. Concert season is supposed to start for me. I made an immediate decision. I didn't go back and forth with it. I can't do this first concert of the season. The concert is the day after my party. Our dress rehearsal is on my actual birthday. Rehearsals are all the way in Palos Verdes at 7:00, and I get off of work sometimes between 6 and 6:30, depending on a child being still there or what. Trying to get the book finished editing, trying to promote, and God was like, it's okay to say no. And I was like, but I said no. And then the pandemic happened when I was going back. And then now it's time to sing again, and I gotta say no. And I haven't even told my conductor yet, but the day I got the email, usually I kind of go, okay, oh God, I want to sing, I want to do this. That situation has opened a lot of doors in my life as far as vocally. We do other stuff over here. That's all musical over there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay. But just as clear as I'm talking to you now, instead of going back and forth with myself and Jesus, I feel like the Lord is just like, get what you have to get done. Don't add too much stuff to your plate that you don't have to.
Right.
So that you can accomplish the things that are going to keep opening the doors.
Right.
So,
yeah. No,
when I say slap in the face, slap in the face. But I was also proud that because Jessica will tell you, that when I took my sabbatical, it took me months to even acknowledge that I even really, really needed it, because I wasn't whole mentally and physically, because I got injured, you guys, and then I kept going as if nothing else happened. The only thing I took a time off of was from work. And even at home, I was stressing about their shows and what they're doing and what the sub was doing and all that other stuff for 8 months. Mm-hmm. So the things I could do, I could sit down and sing. Sure. I can travel across the country. I'm just going to sit down. It was taxing on me physically and emotionally. So I took a sabbatical, and then it was time for the next concert season. And then pandemic, bam, literally the week we were starting rehearsals, the pandemic happened. She had just told us to not come that Tuesday because a choir in another state, I think 40 members showed up and like 20 something of them got sick. And so she was like, let's not come. We did meetings every Sunday on Zoom for a while. We did some virtual stuff, but I just heard God as clear as day. Like, you don't have to say yes right now, and it's okay. And if somebody feels some kind of way about it, that's their issue, not yours. And they can talk to you, because I know how people work. Oh, she's just doing this because she's having her big party. Some of it has to do with that.
Well, and the thing to remember is, so this is something that I've had to learn about Georgia at the church that we were at before, when I was on staff at. One of the accusations that was lobbed at me was that they thought we wanted to move to Georgia. And yes, we did. But that was treated like it was some kind of bad thing. It was like something that I was doing wrong. Like, oh, well, you want to move to Georgia, so you're not invested here. It's like, no, at that point, especially, it was a nebulous want. There was nothing set in stone. It was at some point in the future, yeah, we'd like to go, but we're not tied to anything there.
Yeah.
And it was lobbed at me as though it was some kind of mortal sin. There is nothing wrong with wanting to move to Georgia.
No, it is not.
Nothing wrong there. Nothing wrong with making a business decision and an emotional decision for my family that says that I think that is a healthier, more fiscally responsible place for us to be. And that helps us achieve our goals in a way that doesn't, break my husband's spirit, because, you have to burn the candle at both ends just to put a roof over your house. Like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with saying, I've got too much going on in this season. The concert's the day after my birthday party. I'm going to be tired because it's my birthday. You get to enjoy your birthday. You get to enjoy, your party. Like those are legitimate things. And there's nothing wrong with saying,
no, you're right. There is not.
But yet, because it has been, you've had such a bad experience and it's been lobbed at you time and time again about whatever, you have now suddenly had this like idea in your head that there's something wrong with that. And the reality is, no,
right.
Oh, I absolve you of any.
No, and the thing is, it's funny because like I used to be like so absorbed and so hurt by certain things and certain people who would say certain things that especially you thought, don't you know me better? Obviously you don't. But it's one thing to not care what they say. And it's another thing to not only not care, but to know that that's their issue and not mine. And it took me a minute to get to, like, I got to the place where I didn't care. Then I had to get to the place that their issue doesn't belong to me. And that is another thing I had to add to my own affirmations, like knowing, because we set boundaries in life and with people and our friends and families. And sometimes people people are going to have their opinion of you. Right. And it's truly up to you to accept what they say, whether it's good or bad. You accept it. And if you accept it, then it is. So where times past where I was like, that would have made me reevaluate it. It doesn't. You can say what you want to say. The reality is, this is what I need to do for me, period. Right. I don't know why when I've been wanting to go back, it's just not time yet. Or who knows, I love singing with them. I love traveling and doing all the things that we were doing. But right now, I can't, it's for real go time. Like it's about my birthday, but it's also about so much more. And I'd rather try to keep investing where I believe God has me, and not saying that he doesn't have me with music or with them. I love them. Y'all, I love my group. I'm gonna probably go to the concert, but because I love them. But what I can't do is allow myself to be stretched too thin anymore, because I've done it too long. And now I want to teach everybody not to do it, because it's just, it's so freeing when you can just not only confidence doesn't just come with what you believe about yourself, but it's how quickly you move on from things that used to cause you to be so stressed out. Right. I think that's one reason why I rejoice when I made an immediate decision. I'm like, look at Jesus. Like, I didn't have to go back and forth. I didn't have to tell my mom told me that she was right when I actually go through with it. And then I'm singing and I'm stressed out and my hair is coming out and I got book stuff and scripts to write. And yeah, I'm like, I have the script for the kids to finish. I can't, not right now.
Right?
Not right now. And it's okay.
It is more than okay.
And it's okay.
It's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to just do the thing that you have that is a priority for you.
Yeah.
You know, to invest in your priorities, because I think we spend a lot of time investing in other people's priorities for us. Because everybody's got a priority for you. And it's generally not going to align with your priority for the most part.
Right. I don't know if you've gotten to this place in the book yet, but one of the things I had to learn is I had forgotten what I like for myself at one point. And it wasn't until certain things and certain relationships that I was like, oh, wait, like I literally was having an awakening every time I did something that I remembered I did. And then I had to go back and say, well, why did you stop doing these things? Oh, somebody teased you about it. Somebody thought it was weird, or you couldn't really get anybody to go with you when you wanted to do those things. Or people thought it was childish. People thought it was this. People thought it was too whatever. That's why it was important for me to wear Minnie Mouse ears pictures, because that's totally a part of me. That's why.
And you look so super cute in them.
Oh, I thank you. I had a really amazing photographer. By the way, my save the dates, more than people actually saving the date, they're like, this picture is amazing. I'm like, really? My photographer is fantabulous.
Oh,
my party planner.
That photo was the best one.
She's like, we're gonna have to use that picture for the party. There's some stuff. I want you to send me a couple of candid shots when you can. I want to put something together for you. I was like, okay. She said, but make sure that picture from the save the date is on there. And I was like, okay. So the save the date is, thank you.
It's a gorgeous photo. I think there are some others that are good. And there are lots really of beautiful. I should say, that are very good, but like that one, you're like, oh, I want the purple dress. And I was like, purple dress? Like, I can't remember which one that is. And I'm going through the photos, oh yeah, purple dress. And
yeah, it was a lot going on in 2 days.
My brain is just fried. And I was looking at the photo and I was like, oh yeah, that's the shot. And then as I went through and, I always color correct and I always adjust, just a little bit. And I came through on it. I was like, dang, this photo. And then I threw it through Lightroom, and just to kind of throw, I always throw like a final filter on it or preset on it, just to kind of make sure that everything has a finished look. And I threw the preset on it, and I was like, whoa. It was so good.
The picture is amazing. I mean, for real. But hands down,
Joy is stunningly beautiful. She's always gorgeous, but she's stunningly
beautiful. Pictures
beautiful.
are amazing, and I'll say it's a good picture, not just because I look good, because I like really for real felt like my growth in that photo.
Yeah.
So
well, it's funny because I don't know if that wasn't your first photo shoot that I did, was it? No. So I shot you. This always sounds so weird to say, but we had a shoot. I shot you in 2008.
Is it 18? No, 8.
2008.
Yes.
So 2008, back in the day, and that was like the first big shoot that I had done. And
those are still some of my favorite pictures too.
I love them, and they're still great photos. But it's amazing to me to pull some of those photos out. And of course, it's a different style, and the different style of photography, how it has changed in styles and stuff like that. But to look at some of those photos from then, and then to look at this most recent one, I just feel like you really see this growth of who you are, and it's really cool. I like it. And then for me, I look at it and I look at my growth as a photographer and how I now shoot things.
For sure. Yeah. I'm telling you, all of this stuff has been like so on time, and that's why I was like, when I looked at that and I've been thinking about growth and decision making and all these things, I'm like, that's me. Like I'm her now. I used to be, and there's some pictures we shot for the book, and there's some pictures we'll probably add. And I'm like, I used to think I was being extra for putting pictures in there, but I'm a descriptive person. So pictures,
right.
I'm like, the pictures will try and help, but I want some of those like pictures from then to now to just look at some different things. So I was just like, okay, God. And then after then listening to our show today, I was just like, okay, we're going to be awake now. We're going to be alert. This is a Holy Ghost coffee. Like, this is like, it's that jump I needed, I think, to, like, I'm going out of town next weekend. And I was just like, time is going fast. I didn't realize the 24th was next weekend.
Like, right?
I was like, I'm not ready.
Cow,
I need to do laundry.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
It's just like, it's a lot. I'm like, I can't even, we're talking about like November, December stuff. And I'm realizing that's going to be here in a blink of an eye.
Right.
Like, it's nuts. Like, so we have tickets to the annual fundraising gala for the university. It's October 29th.
I'm looking forward to going.
It's gonna be fun. But my folks now aren't gonna be able to come. They originally were gonna come.
They're gonna be gone.
So now I need to find 2 other people to come, but for our table. But I was like, I'm like looking all day today trying to find a dress to wear, because I'm like, I got too fat for all my dresses, so I gotta find a dress. and like all this kind of stuff. But I'm sitting there going, October 29th is gonna be here.
Before you know it.
6 weeks.
Before you know it.
And I was in a meeting with our marketing team this week, and they're the ones, putting it all together. And we're still working on the COVID like restrictions from Disney, because it's at the Disneyland Hotel. And so they're giving us what we need and all kind of stuff. And I was like, I had asked, we'd actually had to push the meeting a week. And he was like, yeah, because the one girl was in a meeting with Disney and all this kind of stuff. And it was just everything's changing, and they're like giving us the final things, and it's like all that stuff. And so, it's just interesting to me how quickly everything is moving. But even in the midst of everything moving fast, the thing that I'm really appreciative about, especially in light of kind of the podcast that came out today as we record, is just the generosity of God. Because I listened to that and I remember that week, and I was like, because when I first started editing, I was like, why were we so bummed? What was it about this week? What was so wrong? And then I stopped and I remembered it, and I was like, I was not okay that week. I was just not okay.
We just really were. I mean,
and you weren't either.
We were just, I was like, and I think we had talked about maybe not recording. I was like, oh, we need episodes. And I knew I was emotional. And but it was very enlightening.
Yeah,
it was.
But I think having it come out today was just the generosity of God.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like to go, okay, if you need that break and you need that time, like, you will come out of it. And this is the encouragement that I can offer anybody who's listening, is to say that if you find yourself in a similar situation that we did that week, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. As cliched as that sounds, it really is.
But it's so true.
It's 100% okay to not be okay. Because I think when you acknowledge that it's okay to not be okay, that not being okay is where you are. I think there is a certain freedom and power in that. And it takes power back away from the depression, the frustration, the sorrow, the uncertainty. It kind of takes some of its power away and takes it back for you by saying, this is not okay. But this doesn't have to be forever. I can feel this now, and I can deal with this now. Because I think a lot of it too is also, we don't deal with it and don't deal with it and don't deal with it. And then it catches up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that week was our minds and bodies way of just saying, you're going to deal with all this stuff now, whether you're like,
you're going to deal with it now. And
right?
I was like, no. But I remember where we were, like, as the episode kept going, I was like, that was a rough week. And it's funny because I was like, oh, today has been a long day and it's been a week. And I'm like, okay, I got to stop having these. I got to choose something,
But I think having that reminder today, first off, that it had gotten better, that we were feeling more capable and more able to deal with life on life's terms.
Yeah.
But then second of all, just the understanding that it's okay. It's going to be okay. God's going to be faithful. This will as long as it's for his glory, it will do what he needs it to do.
Absolutely.
And we'll be okay. Yeah. And like, okay.
And that's it. Like, yeah. And it's okay. You know, I think understanding and knowing, and I'm like ever evolving in the knowledge and understanding of growth and releasing weights off of your life and all these things that I enjoy teaching. Because you realize once something is simple is it's okay to not be okay. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. It changes your life. It changes your mind. It changes your perspective in such grand ways. And though there will be times when you don't want to use that as the reason for you're not okay, keep using it, because then you're going to go into overthinking zone. Like, why am I here, God? I was just better, and I got faith, and you know, all this stuff. It's okay to not be okay, and that is okay. Like, it's just really that's something. Once I feel like I learned, I'm okay. My not okay days make it better. You know, just because even a year ago I wasn't okay to not be okay. Right. Like I was like, no, but I have to. And now I'm like, okay.
Well, and there may be a point in the future where you're not okay again. Sometimes it's cyclical and we have to relearn the lesson. Like, that's nothing wrong with that. That's normal, you know. But so Wednesday we were at Pursuit Night at church, and this amazing worship night, and Pastor Bianca was reading through in 2 Kings 18 and 19 the story of Hezekiah when the Assyrian army is coming in, and they are this, I mean, atrocious, heinous, brutal, horrible army of hundreds of thousands that has come in to surround the Israelites. And no one has ever survived their onslaught. They have just decimated every army that they've come against. And now they've come against Israel and King Hezekiah. And Hezekiah goes in and he tries to buy them off, right? He sends them gold from the temple. He tries to do all this, and they're still coming after him. None of it seems to make things go away. And the king's out there threatening him, and he's like, you're horrible, and you just go ahead and give up now, because I'm going to destroy you. And if you give up now, I'm going to, you know, give you food to eat and take you to a beautiful place and all this kind of stuff. Don't listen to Hezekiah. Don't listen to him when he says the Lord will come through for you, because he won't. Right. So that's what the enemy is saying, you know. The Lord, don't listen to those who say that the Lord will come through for you, because he's not going to, and I'm bigger than he is, and And so Hezekiah goes in and he takes this letter that's been sent full of all kinds of smack talk from the king of Assyria. And he goes into a room, right? He's like, just blabbermouth, right? And he goes in and he lays, and she didn't highlight this, but as I was reading through scripture, it stood out to me. He takes the letter and he lays it out on the floor, right? He lays the pages of this letter out on the floor, and then he like bows his head and prays and worships. And he just releases this letter and these words, and he prays. And the word of the Lord comes through, I think it's the prophet Isaiah. I could be wrong on this. But the word of the Lord comes to the prophet, and the prophet says, you're not going to have to do a thing to defeat the enemy. The Lord is going to cause them confusion, and they are going to leave. So the Lord will, echoing kind of what he says in Exodus, which is the Lord himself will fight for you. You need only to be still, which ironically was the verse that I quoted to John right before he went in for his interview. Oh, wow. I said, just go in and be yourself. The Lord himself will fight for you. You need only to be still. And so it was fresh in my mind, because I had just, you know, spoken it over John before this interview. And then here on Wednesday night, Pastor Bianca brings up this passage again. Wow. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm listening. The Lord himself will fight for you. You need only to be still. And then the ending of the story in chapter 19 of 2 Kings is they wake up the next morning fully expecting to have another round of just trash talk and all this kind of stuff. And overnight, there has been a disease that has come through the camp, and something like half of their army has been killed. Mm-hmm. And the Assyrians wake up in a panic because their army has been decimated, and they are confused and they don't know what's going, and they turn around and they just leave. And if that were just the one time in Israel's history where that story had happened, it would be extraordinary.
Right.
But there's at least one other instance where that happens. And I think maybe two, where there's at least two other instances where, so Gideon,
my thinking face.
So Gideon, the Lord goes in and confuses the enemy, the Philistine enemy army for Gideon, right? So they don't really have to go in and do much. They just kind of go in and clean it up, but they've already left because the Lord has put a bug in the Philistines' ears that says that the Israelites are coming for him. And then the other instance is Jehoshaphat, where again, they are surrounded on every side. And then Jehoshaphat leads the people of Israel in praise. Again, they begin worshiping and praising and singing. And the Lord causes the enemy armies to be confused and to begin fighting each other. And then they leave. So there's at least three stories, and there's probably more. I can't recall off the top of my head, but there's at least three stories in the Old Testament where impossible odds, nothing that the Israelites could do. And the Lord says, don't even worry about it. I got you. Just worship. And so I feel like that's the theme for this week between the podcast and between our pursuit night and between all this stuff. It's just like, just worship.
My favorite transformation is starting their Crazier Faith series. And I'm like, and Crazy Faith was
Can we just talk about that video though for a moment? I was like,
which one?
The one that the astronaut one. And I was like, someone in the comments goes,
crazy.
Someone in the comments goes, are y'all gonna buy the moon? Is that how this works? And I was like,
well,
branding.
You never know what they have planned over there.
Right. But
and all this is leading into Crazier Faith Week. I'm like, okay. I've fallen back on some of my episodes, the Help series. I was hitting this, but I'll be there front and center for Crazier Faith. I will definitely be there.
Like you said, it's only crazy till it happens.
Too. Yeah, so true. It's like when you said video, I was thinking the video he posted of like the family's first photos of them and the baby.
Oh no, but those were cute.
So I had forgotten.
Yeah.
About the astronaut video.
Yeah.
His I will say their marketing and their promotion for their ministry is very stellar. Like
their media team is on one of my Facebook groups, and so it's cool to watch them post. Like you get some behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. And it's like, dang, y'all.
That would be good. So I would love to watch that because they have some serious media going on. Like I thought I like props. His props and PowerPoint situations be popping.
Right. Well, they very wisely at the beginning of the pandemic just went all in on their video production.
They did, and it was such a wise decision.
They've seen such incredible growth in that, and it's really paid huge dividends for them, for the kingdom.
It's wonderful. Yeah, because one thing I love about them is they don't just sow into their immediate community,
right,
in Oklahoma, but they sow into other ministries, not only in their city, but in other states and cities. And I'm just like, and invest in schools. And I mean, he gave a whole senior class, I think last year, all Mac computers, the ministry did.
Yeah.
For their senior class. And I was like, that's amazing.
Right.
I think over $10,000 to several churches to help pay their mortgages off. He invested into another ministry's video equipment.
Right.
Because they were talking and he said, you know what, you didn't know I was going to do this. So to match what you already have, we're going to give this on top of this. And you can get your production situation together. I believe in what God is doing in your ministry. Like, I'm like that. I love it.
And I appreciate the generosity, the open-handedness with which he approaches the gifts that God has given. Like,
and I love that you can see all the gifts in operation.
Right.
You really can. You really can.
This is, I think, such a product of where we've been in the last few years. I know I'm listening to the rise and fall of Mars Hill right now. And Ravi Zacharias and all of these heroes of faith, these incredible pastors who have fallen hard off of their pedestals. And I think of people like Mike Todd and our pastor Bianca, who have some measure of acclaim in Christendom, and I see Bianca, and I've met her and I've talked with her several times, and I just look at her and I go, Lord, cover her with your grace, protect her, because it would be real easy for that to turn very quickly. And I think of Mike Todd in the same way. It's like it would be very easy for that, know. And
especially because he puts a lot of himself out there, which is what I'll never forget. And I shared this in the book. I think I've shared it on the show before. My pastor's wife back in the day when I was younger, she said, you always need to tell on yourself before the enemy tells the spin of the story for you.
Right.
His version of the story is going to be twisted and turned. But when you tell it, the enemy can't come at you. And even when they come at you, you've already spoken the truth. That is why we as believers, ministers, whatever, when we're speaking, we got to be transparent. We have to be honest. And there were times where I did that to a point because I knew I was still dealing with some things. But now I'm just like, I get it. So I appreciate people like him who truly, for real, give you the real, raw, transparent, because it encourages people like me to keep going and being transparent and helping other people who have struggled or struggling or where you are trying to grow to. So that I love to see as well.
For sure.
But because it's out there, the enemy will try, because he does what he does, but I think between your pastor, him, and there's another pastor, Mike, his name is Pastor Mike Jr., some other, and they're not all young, but some of these ones, you needed to see some young pastors who had it.
Yeah.
Because it's so many ministers, this is a subject for another day, but including myself, there's been so many ministers who have had issues in the pulpit and they're letting their issues bleed, again, including myself, bleed with them while trying to do what you do. And then the enemy takes a hold of your story and tries to manipulate it. And then you feel like you can't do what you were called to do anymore because you've been knocked down. So that's another subject for another day.
So on that note, we'll save that. We'll put that on the list of episodes for future one. But kind of a different episode for us today, kind of a recap of one before, with an initial sojourn into the land of awesome Jewish traditions, and food and all kinds of good stuff as we do. But thanks
and crowdy children with colds.
Yes, and creeping crud children. But thanks for hanging with us today, guys. We appreciate you listening. And you can find more about our podcast and about us at joyandjess.com. You can go to joysimpson.com. You can go to Jess Mahan Media. No, that was my old maiden name. What's my name? Jess Perry Media. To be fair, my last website was Mahan Media. If you go there, it'll redirect. But joysimpson.com, jessperrymedia.com,
that is your
joyandjess.com. You can find us on Instagram at We Digress with Joy_Jess. I got it finally. And leave us a video message or a voice message at joyandjess.com. And your comment can be on the next episode of the show.
We'd love to have it.
If you got comments or questions or something you want to add, we would love to hear more about that. But thanks for hanging with us, guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Check us out on the web at joyandjess.com. That's joyandjess.com. We'll see you next week.